My name is Sada Soli GBI, representing GBI Kaita Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I move that a bill for an act to establish a non-governmental and civil society organization agency and related matters, HB 941, be read the second time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is a great privilege for me to stand before this House to lead a debate on a bill for an act to establish non-governmental and civil society organization agency and related matters. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, NGOs and civil society organizations now impact policies and advance initiatives that once were nearly exclusively the domain of government and for-profit corporations, and their humanitarian services has become vital to the well-being of individuals and societies throughout the globe. In many cases, NGOs have proven more adept than government in responding to particular needs. This powerful third sector, existing between the realms of government and business, is bringing an unprecedented vitality and ability to bear on critical issues related to service and world peace. NGOs' flexibility and connections to grassroots communities aid them in mobilizing resources quickly to affected areas. Their often single-minded commitment and strong motivation affords them a civic power that other institutions lack. Unfortunately, there are many actors in the NGO community that are neither responsible nor ethical. Alan Fowle, in his book, Striking a Balance, many NGOs do not even understand the standards that they should be applying to their activities and governance. However, the experience in recent times in Nigeria showcases the fact that if NGOs and civil society organizations are not coordinated, there will be a preponderance, likely be misplacement of ethics and responsibilities of government. Above all, how many of them prepare and make available to the government and the public their basic financial information, including the sources of their fundings, the use of those funds, the percentages of the funds used for services and programs? This experience spurred me up to come up with an idea by way of a bill to establish an agency that will be responsible for regulation, management, and coordination of the roles of NGOs and civil society in Nigeria. The bill in focus. The bill is divided into 5 parts with 39 clauses in order to establish an agency to function as follows. The bill to create an agency to oversee the affairs of the NGOs. It performs the following functions: to facilitate and coordinate the work of all national and international NGOs operating in Nigeria, to maintain the register of national and international non-governmental organizations operating in Nigeria with precise sectors, affiliation, and locations of their activities, to advise government on the activities of non-governmental organizations and their roles in development within Nigeria, to conduct a regular review of the register to determine the consistency in their reports submitted by non-governmental and civil society organizations and the body, to provide policy guidelines to non-governmental and civil society organizations for harmonizing their activities with the National Development Plan for Nigeria. In view of the above and what exists in other climes, having realized the essence of an agency to coordinate the activities of NGOs and civil society organizations in Nigeria, I will humbly urge this honorable House to note that there are about 1.2 million NGOs operating in the United States, and they are not left without any regulation or coordination. Some examples of legislations around the world that impose mandatory coordination and registration include Ethiopia. In 2009, they have a legislation proclamation for the registration and regulation of charities and societies. Zambia, the 2000 Non-Governmental Organization Act. Uganda, Non-Governmental Organization Registration Act. Zimbabwe, Civil Society Act. Sierra Leone, Angola, Burundi, Rwanda, Democratic Republic of Congo, Zambia, Mozambique, Senegal, Kenya, Tanzania, England, and Wales. They have the Charity Act 2006 is the most recent legislation on NGO in the UK. Honorable colleagues, I urge you most respectively, without any prejudice to the NGO and civil society organizations in Nigeria, to support this bill for the future and the good of Nigeria. Honorable colleagues, this is the ethics code of ethics and conduct of the NGOs, which
Honorable Ibrahim, you are distracting our leader,
which was
who has been very attentive listening to Honorable You have been distracting him, please.
This is their code of ethics. Honorable colleagues, if you may recall, excuse me, sir, excuse me. If you may recall what happened in Rwanda, the role of the NGOs, if you want to know what happened and their role and the need for coordination and organizing of them in our laws, you read this book. If you need to know the functions and the responsibility of how the NGOs participated in the global governance, the non-governmental organizations and development, their functions, their roles they played in world peace, world organization, and their impact on society, and the need for them to be regulated, the need for them to be coordinated, the need for them to be managed by national laws. You read this book. Mr. Speaker, if you need... Mr. Speaker, I'm given the compendium and the dissection of this act. The title of the books, there is State Crime and Civil Activism, there is Non-Governmental Organization and Development, that is strictly for members only who participate in global governance. That is the Rwandan crisis, history of genocide. That is code of ethics and conduct of NGOs, and there is NGOs, civil society, and public sphere. Mr. Speaker, there is the need for Nigeria to include the management, coordination, and in our laws. We don't have that. What we have of NGOs' presence in our laws is for them to go to...
Order, please. Order.
It's for them to go to Corporate Affairs Commission and just register. Nobody knows. The Committee on NGOs can testify. NGOs do not disclose their finances, their budget, their finances are not captured in national budget. Nobody knows what they do. Nobody knows what they do. Those that come from the Northeast can testify the functions, the activities of the NGOs. Some of their activities that are inimical to national unity. That is the functions why we should establish this agency, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Sada. I will recognize, as I've said yesterday, even though it is my own, it is not what we have in the standing rules, but because of time, exigency of time, I will allow.
This bill, Mr. Speaker, taking cognizance of recent activities, particularly from my geopolitical zone, the incessant killings in the Northeast and the activities of the non-governmental organizations, it is very apt for us to have a bill that will coordinate and guide the activities of the NGOs. Perhaps NGOs are non-governmental organizations, including our religious bodies. So my plea, while supporting and urging our colleagues to kindly support this bill, let's make some small adjustments to ensure that our religious bodies are well protected, and at the same time, we adopt the global practice in ensuring that the NGOs are allowed to do their function and activities only and only within the ambit of our laws, and they do not take advantage of the silent majority in doing other activities that are inimical to our national existence. Thank you, as I support this bill. Thank you.
Starting from Ilorin West, as a federal constituency of Kwara State. Mr. Speaker, I rise in support of this bill, particularly because of the role NGOs play in society. The role cannot be overemphasized. Government cannot do absolutely everything, and NGOs are able to reach that last mile. However, what we're discussing today is not whether NGOs are beneficial or not. What we're discussing is the regulation of NGOs in Nigeria. And I think the bill is very timely and it is very apt, because in most nations around the world, as Honorable Sadasoli has clearly alluded to, there is regulation around the operations of NGOs within the sovereignty of countries. And I believe Nigeria should not be any different. I support this bill in its totality, and I will encourage my honorable colleagues to do the same. Thank you so much.
Let us to tread with caution. Whilst there is merit in the need for us to regulate the operations of non-governmental organizations in our country, but I would ask a question. How many members have taken their time to read the details of this bill? Under Order 12, Rule 2, Sub-Rule 2, it is not enough that the bill should be gazetted, but every member should be obliged a copy of the bill. Mr. Speaker, even as the minority leader of the House, I can tell you that I have not read the details of this bill. And it is a very sensitive bill. Very sensitive in the sense that there are questions to be asked. What bodies fall under non-governmental organizations and civil societies under the bill? Clearly, religious issues are at play. Do churches and mosques fall under organizations that are to be regulated? If the answer is yes, what are the powers of the regulated agencies? To what extent will these bodies be regulated? It is only when we have read the details of the bill that we can answer these questions and make very meaningful contributions. And that's why I say, as good as the bill is, because there is need to regulate non-governmental organizations and the operation.
Order, please.
But we are making laws for the country, and so we must tread with care. We must be thorough in whatever we do. Because if we go ahead and pass this bill for second reading, and it is in the public space, and we do not have the details of the content of this bill, it will not speak well of us. I would therefore pray that we do not kill the bill, but rather step it down for members to be given copies, and we go through and come back to argue on this very important and sensitive bill. That is my submission, sir.
I think because of the sensitivity of the issue, I would want to seek the indulgence of the sponsor to allow us to step it down to Thursday next week. Thursday next week for us to continue with the debate. If it is okay with you, unless if you still want us to go ahead after the contributions and put the question. But I think it makes a lot of sense for members to go through, generate questions, and be sure that the provisions of the bill are consistent with their expectations before we can make any progress. Honorable Sada, you have the floor.
I agree with their suggestion, but this bill was gazetted on the 19th of December 2023, and we all got copies in our offices. Hold on. But because members share interest in this law, I oblige the request of the House to step it down for members to send their LAs to their pigeonholes and get this bill so that they can acquaint themselves with the provisions of this bill so that we can move forward.
Thank you, Honorable Sada.
Thanks for checking out SYMFONI on YouTube. Please be sure to subscribe and like our videos for updates.